Nandana Rajajanarandana Damanatira Vanachari Damanatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janabhavo Givaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Statira Sata Shri Srimad Chidandi Goswami Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Statira Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This book would go over there. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're continuing our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, 14th chapter. And we have two verses, 35 and 36, correct? And are both of them on the board or just 36? 36 is on the board, 35 is not. Right? So I'll just repeat the sorry. Chapter 14, okay. I still have trouble reading this. The light is really bad. Mangalaya cha lokanam chemaya cha vashaya cha asteyadu kudambadau adyo nanta sakapuman. That was text 35. And now we'll chant together the text 36. Yad bahu danda gutyatyam Swapuryam yadasho rita. Better glasses. Okay. Kridanti patra manandam Mahaparoshika Eva Yad Bahudanda Guptayam Svapuryam Yadavorchita Kridanti Paramanandam Mahaparoshika Eva. Others? Bahudanda Guptayam Sapuryam Yadavochita Vedanti Paramanandam Mahapurushika Iva Yadbahudanda Guptayam Vedanti Paramanandam Mahapurushika Iva Yadbahudanda Guptayam Sapuryam Yadavochita Vedanti Paramanandam Mahapurushika Iva Yadbahudanda Guptayam Sapuryam Yadavochita Vedanti Paramanandam Mahapurushika Iva. Ladies? Yadbahudanda Guptayam Sapuryam Yadavochita Vedanti Paramanandam Mahapurushika Iva. Mangalaya. Now this is from the first verse. Okay, so we'll chant all the synonyms. For all good. Cha, also. Alokanam, of all the planets. Chemaya, for protection. Cha, and. Bhavaya, for elevation. Cha, also. Aste, is there. Yadukula Ambodho, in the ocean of the Yadu dynasty. Adya, the original. Ananta Sakaha, in the company of Ananta, Balaram. Puman, the supreme enjoyer. Yat, whose. Bahudanda Guptayam, being protected by his arms. Svapuryam, in his own city. Yadabaha, the members of the Yadu family. Architaha, as they deserve. Kridanti, are relishing. Paramanandam, transcendental pleasure. Mahapurushika, the residents of the spiritual sky. Eva, like. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. The original personality of Godhead, the enjoyer, and Balaram, the primeval Lord Ananta, are staying in the ocean of the Yadu dynasty for the welfare, protection, and general progress of the entire universe. And the members of the Yadu dynasty, being protected by the arms of the Lord, are enjoying life like the residents of the spiritual sky. Purport. As we have discussed many times, the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, resides within each and every universe in two capacities, namely as the Garbhodakshayi Vishnu and the Chirodakshayi Vishnu. The Chirodakshayi Vishnu has his own planet on the northern tip of the universe, And there is a great ocean of milk, where the Lord resides on the bed of the Ananta incarnation of Baladev. Thus, Maharaj Yudhisthira has compared the Yadu dynasty to the ocean of milk, and Sri Balaram to the Ananta, where Lord Krishna resides. He has compared the citizens of Dwarka to the liberated inhabitants of the Vaikuntha lokas. Beyond the material sky, further than we can see with our eyes, and beyond the sevenfold coverings of the universe, there is the causal ocean, in which all the universes are floating like footballs. And beyond the causal ocean, there is an unlimited span of spiritual sky, generally known as the effulgence of Brahman. Within this effulgence are innumerable spiritual planets, and they are known as the Vaikuntha planets. Each and every Vaikuntha planet is many times bigger than the biggest universe within the material world. And in each of them, there are innumerable inhabitants who look exactly like Lord Vishnu. These inhabitants are known as the Mahaparoshikas, or persons directly engaged in the service of the Lord. They are happy in those planets and are without any kind of misery, and they live perpetually in full youthfulness, enjoying life in full bliss and knowledge, without fear of birth, death, old age, or disease, and without the influence of Kala, eternal time. Maharaj Yudhisthira has compared the inhabitants of Dwarka to the Mahaparoshikas of Vaikuntha Loka because they are so happy with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are many references to the Vaikuntha Lokas, and they are mentioned there as Madhama, or the kingdom of the Lord. Om Ajnana-tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mokum Karoti Vachalam Bangalangaya Taye Gurim Tatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. The abode of Krishna, the abode of the Lord, the spiritual sky. Here we are, within the material sky. We look out and we see the sky. And if we were to extend that sky further and further, it would go out beyond the pull of this planet into the outer space and further and further. And all of this, with its stars and planets, this huge expanse that cannot be even perceived by our senses, is simply one small corner of the unlimited spiritual sky, the unlimited spiritual world. Whenever I speak to people in the West, yogis, people who are practicing yoga, who often have some idea about spiritual goals, but who generally speaking have been influenced by Nirvisesha Sunyavadi, the influence of the various so-called yogis of India who have spread their impersonal concepts. And they generally will think, well, it is all, this one or that one, or it all ends up, it's all one, right? It just ends up. Whatever path you take, that's okay. My first response is that, and Srila Prabhupada used this analogy a number of times, if you want to go to a particular place, will any road take you there? You could say, well, yes, any road. All roads, what do they say? All roads lead to Rome. But you may have to go round the world before you get next door if you take the wrong path. Or another example Srila Prabhupada gives is if you want to reach a particular city and you buy a ticket for another city, what do you expect to go to? So there are different goals for different paths, spiritual paths. The goal that we have set, the path that we have set, the path that we have taken up is the path back to Godhead, the path back to the spiritual sky, the spiritual world. We are not interested in a impersonal, unvariegated, unqualified oneness. If you compare, the Shastras say that there is happiness, there is bliss, because there's no pain. So whenever you have no pain, you have no miseries, you have no birth, you have no old age, you have no disease, which we're all kind of struggling with these days, a lot of disease, and no death. When you don't have any of this, then of course, it's bliss. But that bliss is compared to the water, not just the hoof print of a cow, but the hoof print of a calf, compared to an ocean, That is what we want. But there's a problem. If we want the opulence and the wonderful nature of that world, then we may end up in its reflection, the heavenly planets of this world. If our aim is the same as we have in this world, to enjoy ourselves. Then we are given another place. Devotees, Srila Prabhupada described that because of our desires for enjoyment, many of us may have to take a little time working it out in the heavenly worlds. Therefore, Mahaprabhu gives us the path. Nadanam, najanam, na sundarim, kavitam va, jagadisha kamaye mama, janmani, janmani, ishvare, bhavatad, bhakti haituki, ahaituki bhakti, ahaituki bhakti, trai. We have to give up the desire to enjoy the spiritual world, even the desire to go to the spiritual world, to be in the spiritual world. The spiritual world, the spiritual sky, is not, although it's described here as being beyond the sevenfold coverings of this material universe, it's described in this way, but it's not a physical place. It's as close to us now as the closest thing. We can enter in to that spiritual sky immediately by becoming free of our attachment to this material sky and becoming absorbed in a haituki bhakti. That abode, that Dhamma of the Lord is there for us. We have to want, in one sense, to be there, but not for enjoying its opulence, but for enjoying the service that we are provided in that world. The Bhagavad Gita references that world, and Srila Prabhupada in this purport, he refers how in several places in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks of his Dhamma. 8:21. Avyakto chara ityuktas tamahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. That which the Vedantas describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode. 8:15. Mam upetu punar janma dukhalayama shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita 15:6. Na tad bhashayate suryo na shashanka na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. Almost the same verse as 8:21. 8:21, yam prapya na nivartante. 15:6, yad gatva na nivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. na nivartante. The Vedantas describe. Vedanta Sutra has a sutra, which I don't remember now. I read it in preparation, but maybe someone else knows here. Something like avirsheshya shabdat. Does anybody know that? Basically it says, never return, shabdat, as confirmed by Shabda. So that Dhamma is offered to us by Krishna. How to get there is also offered to us by Krishna. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvata tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti sorjuna. Throughout the Gita, Krishna is describing, come to me, come to me, come to me. Understand me. Understand my transcendental nature. Understand who you are as my part and parcel, my eternal servant. Understand me as your most intimate friend. Understand me as your perfect love. Your perfect love. In this world, we seek, we search for love. We want love and to be loved. But all too often, we're dragged into the mire of sense gratification, and our loving relationships become tainted and diseased with lust. But in our hearts of hearts, we are looking for that perfect love, where we can love without any reservation, without any fear, and receive the extraordinary pleasure of serving the one that we love. That is what Krishna is inviting us to come to in a world which is perfectly arranged for such service. The Vaikuntha world. When I read this purport and I was thinking, well, we have to talk about Vaikuntha. And I was thinking, well, I don't know much about Vaikuntha. Srila Prabhupada points out how in Vaikuntha, everyone has a form like Vishnu. And I don't know if you've had this thought, but I've often had this thought, that sounds boring. Everyone looks the same. And then I discovered that today but I got to know more about Vaikuntha. They couldn't be just like that. There's more to know because it's not a lot of description of Vaikuntha. Except one place. I remembered, I haven't read fully, but I remembered that Gopakumar visits Vaikuntha in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let me go and see. Because I haven't yet gotten to that. I've been, anyway, won't get into that. So yes, Gopakumar. How many of you have read Srimad Bhagavatam? So, it's in my big list of books that I must read. But I've heard, different stories. And here we are in Mayapur, we should, because they're going to be displaying his journey in the temple. But most of you know that Gopakumar is a Gopa, a cowherd boy born in Govardhan, who goes out to seek, he's by the instruction of his guru, his ultimate goal. And he goes here, there, anyway, there's a whole story of all the different places. He basically goes everywhere, but now he's been picked up by the Vaikuntha, the Vishnu Dutas. They've picked him up on their airplane, and they're taking him to Vaikuntha. And first of all, they say, well, here, why don't you have a body like we, you can. And he's, no, okay, I'm not yet, or not now. When he reaches Vaikuntha, he's asked to wait at the gate while the Vaikuntha Dutas, they enter to take permission of Narayan for him to enter. And they tell him, while you're waiting, don't worry, there's so much to see. So many wonderful things that you can see, and you'll get to start to understand what this place is all about. And he does see various personalities approach looking just like Vishnu. And he thinks, here, my Lord has come, my Lord has come. But along with, there are animals, there are other various forms. And we find out, and I'll just, because I don't want to get into the whole description of Vaikuntha, but we find out that it's not just four-armed men walking around. There are, first of all, there's women who are like Lakshmi, and there are animals, and there are birds, and there are even monkeys. There are all kinds of animals and creatures all around and doing. And Sanatana Goswami describes that Gopakumar is going to learn about this later on from Narada Muni, what's going on. And we find, as we go further, Narada Muni, because the story unfolds, and Gopa's not yet satisfied. So anyway, Narada Muni comes, and there's the talk, because he has to get to Vraja. And there we learn that yes, the devotees all have forms like Vishnu. But it's the form of Vishnu that they were worshiping, or they were attracted to. So if they have, they're worshiping Ram, then they have a form like that. If they're worshiping Mother Sita, they may have come into a female form. Or if they're worshiping Hanuman as a great devotee, then they may have a monkey form. But then I was thinking, that was not what was said. I was thinking like that, but I was thinking, that's not quite right. And then I remembered something that I would love to hear if it has any validity in Shastra, because it's just my active mind. Because just a few days ago, we listened, and this is something if we encourage everyone to please get into the habit of listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures regularly, if not every day, which we do every day, is very often. So we were listening to, and Srila Prabhupada was describing how the Lord assumes thousands, unlimited, the incarnations of the Lord are like the waves of the ocean. And the incarnations of the Lord are in every species of life. So there must be some devotees who are seeing and worshiping Krishna in some incarnation, in some form of life, and they take that form in Vaikuntha. So that was my proposition. So it's a place of unlimited variegatedness. It's all there.
Whatever we have here, whatever variety, whatever is beautiful, whatever is wonderful in this world is just a reflection of the spiritual world. Just a reflection. But here, we see it and we want to enjoy it. We want our senses to just interact, and we feel the stimulation of the senses and the sense interaction, and we feel some sort of happiness by that. But that's just minuscule happiness. The real happiness is when we see within all of this wonder, we see Krishna. And we see the opportunity to serve Krishna. We see some way to please the senses of Krishna. That is the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha. They have everything. They have all kinds of powers. They can make anything. They can do anything. This is all described. The powers of the Vaikuntha inhabitants, they have everything. But what do they want to do with it? They want to do something to serve Krishna. And they are doing things. They're not just hanging around Krishna all the time. They go out, they do things. They have families. They have families. They have wives and children, and they have animals, and they have all kinds. They have all the varieties. But it's all simply to serve Krishna. That is Vaikuntha. In the purport, and we're running out of time, so I'm just going to, in this verse that we repeated, Tadama Paramam Mama, Srila Prabhupada describes, as long as a living entity is in this dark material world, he is in conditional life. But as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, how? By cutting through. Not the layers of the universe. It's not that we have to, of course we do penetrate those, but it's not a physical thing. We have to cut through the false perverted tree of this material world in our hearts. He becomes liberated. There is no chance of his coming back here. In his conditional life, the living entity considers himself to be the Lord of this material world. But in the liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom and becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord, and there he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full knowledge. Now here's, Srila Prabhupada says, one should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. For one who is too much attached to this material world, it is very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes to Krishna consciousness, there's a chance of gradually becoming detached. Just skipping over, he must become attached to the devotional service of the Lord. When we become attached to the devotional service of the Lord, then, so therefore one should take it very seriously that devotional service, as described in the 12th chapter, is the only way to get out of this false representation. Only devotional service is described as purely transcendental. So it is devotional service. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti haituki tvayi. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Vaikuntha is described. Thus there is opulence, even in what seems like its absence. And when opulence is visible, the devotees still feel as if they possess nothing. All opulence is there, but the devotees, they feel they have nothing. That is the special nature of Vaikuntha. Every Vaikunthavasi has access to personal control over infinite energies, whether he chooses to display them or not. Yet even when devotees in Vaikuntha use their ability to manifest wonderful things, they still feel meek and humble because they are just sparks of the Supreme, from whom the Satchidananda opulences of Vaikuntha all expand. The devotees in Vaikuntha are free from the tendency to exploit other people and things for their own selfish interests. This is the nature of Vaikuntha. It is free from the constraints, kunta, of material bondage. As already stated, in that divine realm, the all-pervasive spiritual nature, it coexists with the infinite variety of ways to serve the personality of Godhead. So we can all be in Vaikuntha. To be in Vaikuntha simply means, Srila Prabhupada says, no envy. When there's no envy, when there's no feeling of possessing, when there is, as stated here, no tendency to exploit other people and things for their own selfish interests, when there's none of that, when there's only love for Krishna, then we are in Vaikuntha. We are in Vaikuntha. So, I'll end there. How do we achieve that? We chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, in a mood of service. Let my chanting please you, Krishna. Let me sing your name for your pleasure. And please, pick me up. Ai nanda tanuja kinkaram patitanam mam vishameva vambudo kripaya tava panka pada pankajastita duli sadishim vichintaya. Pick me up, please. Consider me just an atom, dust, clinging to your lotus feet. Hare Krishna. So, if anyone has any comments, questions, we have a few minutes. I'm supposed to end earlier, but Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.